Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. If you need something, check us out. We're available. Welcome to Office Hours Ask Me Anything. Hi, I-10. It is November 9th, 2021, and I come here every Tuesday around this time, and I just take your questions for an hour. Some people send their questions ahead of time, which you can do too, deltacx.link/ask. So I've actually got like 6 questions already ready to go. So that means we're going to be flipping around to a lot of windows. Hi, Charlene. And we're going to take, Linda says, hey, you mentioned risk registers several times. Okay. I will add your question to the end, Linda. Good to see you here. Hope the new job is going well. And let's put Linda's question on the end of the list. Hi, Glenn. So we've got already a bunch of questions. We might have a full day, and I cannot run late today. I have a whole bunch of calls after this. So I apologize for that, but hopefully y'all understand. So here we go. Let's jump right in on our first question. Let's also put up a giant picture of me over here so I don't hit the wrong button. All right. This says, a lot of companies keep putting UX research within the role of UX designer. Where is the line between the two roles, task-wise? I'll give you the short and easy answer for that. So the way that I see the difference is that research would be any of that generative research or sometimes exploratory research that should be happening really early in the process, sometimes even before the projects are starting, because we need to understand how to strategize and what we should be doing and prioritize, and the research can inform that. So that's going to be things like observational studies and interviews and things like that. Then there's research again when we get over to testing. And the testing is where we have evaluative research, where we now have a concept or a design or a prototype, and we want to evaluate it to see if it's ready to go and fits our definition of done, or if it needs more iterations. So that is typically research stuff. And of course, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of that. So research on this end, the generative research, or sometimes evaluative is done up front, but the generative research has lots of the artifacts we're often talking about. So things like task analysis, optimized task flow, personas, typologies, customer journey maps, service blueprints. Those are usually all and other things, artifacts based on research. They're not things that should be guessed at. They're not things that should be stabbed at. They're not things that should be over workshopped. These things are supposed to come from research. So what's the difference between research and design? To me, design is your information architecture and interaction design and prototyping. And for some people, it's visual design, but I mostly focus here. And then research would be, I can't do this. They're superimposed on my screen. How does anyone do this? Here and here. But yes, of course, sometimes there are jobs that want to overlap it and try to make you the jack of all unicorns, which I don't recommend. You know, it's hard enough to be really great at UX architecture and design, and it's hard enough to be really great at research and everything that comes with research. And it's really, really hard to be, or takes a long time to be good at both. So that's how I see those separations, and I hope that helps the person who asked the question. Okay, this was another question that was from last week, and we didn't have time to get to it. Sometimes y'all send questions in just as I'm ending the show. And so, hi, Vazia. Speaking of ending the show, sorry to everybody who tuned in yesterday. The show ended quite abruptly when we had a thunderstorm and all the power went out to the house. So I do apologize for that. I will be getting some power strips and plug things into my UPS, so hopefully we could have gone on a few minutes more. This question says, can surveys be a viable source of research if it focuses on collecting open-ended qualitative answers? I think viable is a tough question because anything could be viable, but is it a good idea? Is it worth it? Is it likely to give you good results? It's certainly viable. It is alive. It exists. Isn't that the definition of viable? Let's see, what viable? What's its Latin root? Vita, that's what I thought. So feasible, capable of working successfully. So So could you do a survey? You could, but I wouldn't recommend it. Hi, Denise. That's, again, these are my opinions. You can agree or disagree. But I think the problem is that even if you ask open-ended questions, what if the person doesn't feel like typing the full answer? Now you've got a partial answer. What if you have a follow-up question because of something they said that you really want to chase down? You're not there. How are you going to deal with all of the things that come in from the surveys? You can't just word cloud it. You would have to read through everything, make some notes, start your affinity diagram. I think that if you really want to get qualitative information, you really have to think more about sorry, I've got a bug flying around. You have to really think more about observational research and interviews and contextual inquiry. So I don't recommend surveys. I think you run the potential that the survey question is flawed. People don't understand it. They take it in a different way. It doesn't make sense for their world. They don't feel like typing all the things that they want to say. I think it's got too many flaws in it for me to recommend it. You could do it, and you can tell me how it goes. But I think that I wouldn't recommend it. If the question is, do I recommend it? The answer is no. And even with open-ended qualitative answers, that means you've got to read through all of these things and figure out what's going on and not have the opportunity to get more whens, whys, hows, wheres, all tools, knowledge, workarounds. People rarely tell you these things. It's so much better to watch people. Hi, Eunice. You're on your train back home. Good. Hopefully I can keep you company there. And Glenn, I've added your question to the list, but it is a long list today. All right, so let's jump to the next question. Since there are so many today and I cannot run late, so we're just going to have to do what we can. Let's drop the font a bit. Alrighty, so this says, I want to do quick user interviews over the phone. It's for a telecom company, so people are okay with phone calls asking for their feedback. The main goal is to discover their general experience using the app and finding main problems and issues they might be having when using the app. Do you think these quick phone interviews will be effective, and do you have any tips? So this question feels a little bit like the first. You could do phone interviews with phone people, but you're not asking them about customer service or how happy are you generally or whatever. You're asking them about an app, and you're not gonna watch them use the app. You're gonna ask them about the app. So I would have to say that, again, you could do it. It is not my suggestion. Oh, Vazi, I see your question popping up, and I will add it to the bottom of the very long list. And again, if we don't get to some things today, we'll just have to save them for next week. I apologize, but we already have so many questions. So if you want to know something about your app, you've got to watch people use your app. It's so much better than asking people to think about the last time they used your app or think about them using your app in general. It's better to just have them share their phone screen, which you can do in things like Zoom, and have them use the app and give them a task. You need to pay your phone bill. You need to top up your phone. You said it's telecom, so I'm just guessing and making this up. You need to do a thing. Let's see how you do it. And then you can ask them at the end, how was that for you? Where could we improve that? That is going to give you the best information. So I think if you're taking the time to recruit people and possibly call them, why not recruit people and possibly meet them in Zoom or the like that they can do from their phone, where you can then watch them? Because if you really want to see someone's experience using the app and finding the main problems and issues they're having using the app, you got to watch them. Otherwise, this just runs the risk of it being flawed. Imagine someone calling you up and asking you about an app you may not have used that day, that week. You have to remember back. I just think it is possibly flawed. Let's see. Mohammed has a question. Okay, so we're going to add Mohammed's question to the end, and we're going to add Denise's question to the end. And then I think I might have to say no more questions. I think we're going to be out of time for anybody else. So I think I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry, no more questions today. I'm sorry, no more questions today. Okay, Denise, you will be last today. Okay, so hopefully that answers interviews over the phone. That's more of a marketing thing. I think you could do that for UX, but to ask people about an app, I would really want to just see them use the app. All right, moving on. All right, so next anonymous question that came in says, and I got a lot of these and they were worded similarly, so I think it could be the same person. Hello, anonymous person. In usability testing, what if certain tasks depend on a previous task and the user failed to do it? Should I help them? Real life example. 2 tasks require the user to be logged in and they didn't know how to do it. Should I just help them? Should I help them just to continue the 2 upcoming tasks? What I typically do is I build a prototype that allows them to log in and continue forward with whatever the other tasks are. And I've also built that prototype so that if they can't log in, I can just start them on another page. I can say, okay, your next task is going to be to do this thing. I'm going to put a link in the Zoom chat. I use Zoom for my stuff, not sponsored. I'm going to put a link in the Zoom chat and I'd like you to start your task there. And that would be whatever is kind of your post login screen. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Juliana or Juliana. Thank you for joining. So I would say that instead of saying, here, let me help you log in, or, oh, let me show you how to log in, which I think even if you say it tenderly, someone could take as, oh man, I'm messing this up. I would just say, okay, your next task, you're going to start on this other page. Let me get you that URL. And you don't have to mention that login went wrong or you should have logged in first or whatever. You can just say, this page assumes you've already logged in. And that's the kind of thing I say to people, just start this task here and this page assumes you've already logged in. Now they don't have to think about logging in, worry about logging in, and we don't have to rescue them and try to help them do anything differently or better. All right. Just a reminder to everybody, please empathize with the like button and subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Got lots of stuff. You know, we're streaming a lot. There will be some breaks coming up towards the end of the year, but we'll stream as much as we can stand. And if you have anything you possibly want to know about this show, it's pretty much answered at deltacx.com/links. How do you enter the giveaway? How do you sign up for my Acture course? Where's my HR and hiring training? What else? What's our calendar of events? How can you tip here, which is appreciated but not required? All that stuff is on that page. All right, let's see. This again was written similarly, so I think it could be the same person. And let's drop this one on the screen and moving on. In usability testing, what if a participant did all tasks successfully and quickly? Should I not include it in the report? I wish I had this person here because I would say, why wouldn't you include that? If the goal is to see the realities of what people do, both the successful tasks or the unsuccessful tasks or the long and windy tasks that eventually succeeded or failed, and long and windy I still see as failures, why would we exclude anything from the report? Sometimes I find that, you know, we've done a test or something with 30 people and one person gave really weird answers. They're an outlier. You know, we did a card sort once and it was like, on which page would you expect to find directions to it was on which page would you expect to find face cream? And they answered like, about us. And it's like, no, no. So if someone's an outlier, you may need to isolate some of their data and mention it in the report. You know, 90% of people knew that the face cream was in the face creams category. One person thought it should be on the About Us page. Looking at this person's other answers, we think they were either quite confused or, you know, because in Optimal Workshop, not sponsored, You can isolate answers by the anonymous person, and you could see, oh wow, this person really gave a whole bunch of crazy answers. And then I found that they were by far the oldest person in our group and were probably a bit not tech savvy, so they were just stabbing at stuff. But no, I would not remove anybody who did the tasks successfully and quickly. If you know why that happened, then you want to talk about that in the report or the presentation. Is it because it's a good design? Is it because this is an existing customer who had a lot of familiarity with it? So I wouldn't just exclude them, but I would want to take a look at why. Because perhaps they did the tasks successfully and quickly because you have a good design, and perhaps they did it because it's your coworker or it's a customer who has familiarity with it and therefore they were able to get through it quickly. So, but I wouldn't remove it from the report because then you can end up biasing stuff. So there you go. We don't want to remove things from reports because they back up our hypothesis or run against our hypothesis. Don't start doing that, or you are guilty of flawed research and junk science. Okay, this was actually a discussion we had on our Slack channel today, but it's a good question, and I wanted to bring it up quickly here. This was, is there a totally free wireframing tool out there? And my answer was, it kind of doesn't matter, because ultimately many employers are very picky about what tools they use because they kind of don't understand what UX is. So they think you have to know the tool. And I have been, people have said, we can't interview you, you don't use Figma. Okay. So in a world where people are not getting opportunities to interview or get a job because of the tool they use, I would not suggest going for the cheapest tool you can find. I would suggest looking at some of the job descriptions of the jobs that interest you and take a look at what tools they use. What tools do they recommend? What tools do they require you for the job? Those are the tools to know, even if they're not free. And Mohammed, you've posted your question 4 times. I promise it's on the list, and posting it more doesn't help it get answered faster. It just makes you look a little weird. Okay, next. We got this question anonymously just before the show. And it looks like this. Could you please explain the difference between user scenarios, flows, and journey? Am I splitting hairs, or are they really different? They are kind of different. Now, there's a couple of different definitions of scenarios. So let me give you what I tend to hear for scenarios. Hi, Glenn. So scenarios, the way that I use scenarios are like the prose version of personas. Sometimes we feel like we haven't told the persona's story enough in the typical persona document, and we want to tell more of the persona's story, and that can be done in a scenario. I've also seen scenarios used. Charlene says, if you work with digital government stuff, you might have to use any tool, but predefined HTML to create your prototype. Right. So some people want hand coding for that stuff. Also, back to this. So I would say Google UX scenario because there are so many definitions. I don't want to steer you wrong here. And I don't know which one you're thinking. And you're not here to tell me, or are you? So I'm not too sure. But when, for example, customer journey maps and service blueprints sometimes have scenarios at the top to give people the context for the document. Is that what you mean? So when I've used scenarios, they have been kind of like longer prosaic versions of personas that kind of turn into archetypal stories. Now, user flows. We've started doing user flows in our Think Out Loud series, which if you are on YouTube is hashtag UX Think Out Loud. And we're going to try to own that hashtag. And the user flow is typically in a flowchart style, and it maps out everything the user could possibly do in order and with branches and sometimes error states and from start to finish. It's that end-to-end flow or workflow or task or journey mapped out as a flowchart. And that is typically your user flow. Very often we do desired future state. We usually don't map the current flow and then the better flow, but you could do that. So typical user flows are a flow chart. Now, a user journey is typically a customer journey map. A customer journey map is a common artifact that after you do observational research, you're taking a look at what were the steps of this person's journey? What actions were they taking? Do we know any of their thoughts or emotions? I would say you probably don't, and you're guessing at them, but what are their actions? What do you notice about this? Where do we seem to have opportunities to improve this step of the process? So it's, no, you can't delete these things. So you want me to change your question because you reworded it. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Thought you were just flooding the channel. That was just weird. What did your old one look like? Now I don't even remember. Insights from the observational research. Sorry, I'm trying to replace Mohammed's question. Okay. I think I'm replacing it. Okay. All right. Yeah, so I would say these are 3 different things, and I think these are also Googleable. So it's not about splitting hairs. I think these are 3 different things. Whether or not your teammates are using them correctly or using them at all or whatever, that's a whole other story. Ralitza says, do I know if Alchemy or other survey tools offering selected multiple answers as a list? I don't understand your question. Do you know whether Alchemy or other survey tools support offering selected multiple options as a list? I'm not sure what that would look like, but I can tell you once you start paying for Alchemy, you have a whole bunch of question styles you didn't even think of. So I'm just going to go with maybe. Check out Alchemy. I'm on the middle paid tier. There is a higher tier that has even more stuff. So I'm just going to go with maybe and not sponsored. There we go. Sorry, snuck in a question there. We are technically done with questions, by the way. I think we have too many. But I will throw in Pralitsa's question as one that we did quickly address. Okay. Oh, I missed one. I'm sorry. I missed a question. Let me, hold on. Let me reorder some things in my document of questions. I am so sorry to the person who sent this anonymously. I missed one on the list here. Give me a second. No, I did get it. User interviews over the phone. What if certain tasks depend on a previous task? What if they did tasks successfully? Okay. This one came in anonymously. I'm going to put it up on the screen, but it doesn't totally make sense, I'm sorry to say. So I'm probably not going to be able to address it. It says, can you please give an example of a real problem and then show us examples of good and bad research to solve this problem? I don't even know where to start with that. I mean, good and bad research plan, but I can't show you real problem's real research and call out publicly on YouTube somebody for doing bad research. I'm not comfortable with that. And I don't even know where I would get this stuff. So, what? I'm sorry. I don't think I can answer this because I don't know where I would get this real problem. I don't know where I would get this real research. And I don't think I can go, yeah, see what this person did? This research was bad. I might say that to someone privately, but I'm not comfortable putting that here. So I'm just going to have to say, I'm sorry, but I don't think that is something I can handle in this stream. We've got a half hour left and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. We might have time for a couple more. So maybe send in a couple if you have one. No more than one. Okay, this was Linda's question, which means I can put it up from our usual tool here. Oh, hold on. And Ralitza is clarifying her question. Say a participant answered a multi-select question and chose 3 or 4 options, and I want to reuse the answers given in the next question and offer them as a selection. Never, ever, ever do that. Never, ever. Weren't you the person who had that happen to you on a Google form and you freaked out? Wasn't that you? Who was that? I could swear that was you. Like a year ago. Yes? No? Remember that? So let's talk quickly about what Ralitza's talking about. And then we'll go to Linda's question. Sorry, Linda. Press pause. They are not free-form. So if they're not free-form, why? I want to reuse the answers given in the next question and offer. Oh, this is piping. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the free-form answers. Was that you last year that had that happen and you were like brain exploding? Yes, that was you. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant that. I'm sorry. I'm partly cloudy today. Sorry about that. Okay, so never do that. Never take someone's free-form open answer and show it to future survey takers and as a possible answer. They might have put personal information there. Okay, Ralisa, I think you're talking about piping, I think it's called, in a survey. I've never done this. I've never taken an answer someone selected and used that in a future question. But are you not just talking about skip logic, where if someone chooses this, they see a certain next question? I think you're talking about piping, and Alchemer does that, but it's too advanced for my little brain. So check that out. All right, back to the other questions. Linda, hope you're still here. Linda asks, hey, you've mentioned risk register several times. Where should it live and who gets access to it? Great question. So typically the risk register is something that would be whoever kind of runs the team. So if the team is like an Agile or Scrum team, this might be a Scrum Master, it might be a team leader of sorts, it might be a project manager, again, depending upon the type of team that you have. Typically someone who is looking over this project, overseeing the project for, are we running late? Are we over budget? Typically they are looking at risks like being late or being over budget, and they are supposed to document and track these risks so that we have a plan for how to mitigate these risks before they happen, or we have a plan for what we're going to do if these risks do happen. So I would say that the risk register should be open to the whole team. If the project manager treats it like their document and it's only theirs, then you probably have to go to them to see how to add to it. That's what I would say. I always hope that the risk register will be something that everybody can see. I don't see why everybody couldn't add to it, but I guess if say it's a project manager, wants everything filtered through them, then hypothetically they might be the only person who's adding to it, but I do believe it's something that should be in like a Confluence or whatever where everyone has access to it. Because if we believe in accountability, then we should all see what the risks to this project are, and we should all be having conversations about how we identify those risks and mitigate those risks and the like. So everyone should have access to it. That's what I think. All right, then we had Glenn. Let's roll back into Glenland. Here we go. Glenn, any tips for interviewing for a senior UX generalist role? Good questions to ask the company. Oh, Glenn, do I have good news for you? See, we haven't seen you in a while. We did episode 129 with the always fabulous Julia DeBari. We did an entire hour on questions you should ask when you're being interviewed. So roll back into the live stream podcasts playlist and look for that. Also, while you're at it, roll back to episode 128, which came right before it. That was with our good friend Lee Andres, and she talked about how to give more compelling interview answers. So I think 128 and 129 are episodes in the live stream podcasts playlist on YouTube. is a fantastic 1-2 punch for everybody who is interviewing. So how about that? Let's see. What is Amazon telling me? I got a delivery hours ago. That is true. So yeah, and don't forget to press like here and all that. Oh, the interview's tomorrow. Well, then get out of here and go watch 129 on 2X. Speed through it, especially if you're good with English. Quick thanks to everybody who supports the channel through the YouTube subscriptions. YouTube has paid subscriptions, and thanks to the people who are helping support the channel in that way. It is optional, but always appreciated. And our mid-level low ego action heroes and our senior low ego action heroes are Anita, Chang, Darren, Irena, Jordan, Michelle, Nikki, Ralitza, Ray, Solomon, and the fabulous Mix Betty, our first senior low ego action hero. So just a thanks to the people who help support the channel. The money that comes in, I normally reinvest in the channel through buying ridiculous videos, and I also eat chocolate chips. So thank you very much. All right. Then we got Denise's question. No, it wasn't Denise's question. It was... Let me roll back. It was Vazia's question. Let's see. Here it was. Pow. Any tips for making a usability findings report for non-UX management? Yes. Now, first of all, I normally go to those people and I ask what kinds of things would they like to hear or see, and how long a meeting or presentation would they like. That gives me a little bit of an idea of how deep do they want this to go. If they say, oh, half hour, maybe present for 20 minutes and take 10 minutes of questions. When people say present for 45 minutes and take 15 minutes of questions, then I know they want to go a little bit deeper. They want to hear more. So first of all, I try to find out what they're listening for and how much time they're going to give me, because that does guide me. Then, because it's management, there's probably some stuff that they don't want to get in the weeds about, so you might end up staying a little bit more high level. But even with management, where possible, I certainly use quotes from people from findings, and if necessary, if you need, now again, it also depends on what you need this for. Do you need this to convince a team to do another round of design that maybe they didn't want to do or they hadn't planned for? Then we've got to pull out all the stuff. We have quotes, we want to show videos of people not being able to use this. So I guess my question would also be to you is like, are they just curious about how the usability testing went? Or do you kind of need this to convince people that this thing isn't ready and needs at least another round of love and then more testing? So I think the more that this has to be a convincing presentation, the more I might use videos if you have them, and quotes if you don't have them. If this is just informational, like we ran usability testing, here's the things we find, and we recommend that these are the next changes, then of course, that can be a pretty short presentation. Honestly, in many cases, I do not do a report or presentation for that, depending upon what my role is. Sometimes, if I'm the researcher and the designer, I don't need to report on that. I just take what I learned and go start iterating on my designs. If it's if I'm the researcher and I'm working with a different designer, I might just talk to them. So if your company or organization prefers that formal report, then you do have to make it. But I have to admit, I don't usually take the time to make a formal report after usability findings, because typically I just see that as a more informal collaboration that I can have with the designers. But of course, again, it really depends on how your organization is structured or not. I hope that helps. And if you're still here, everyone's welcome to ask follow-up questions. So let me know if you have a follow-up question. Okay, I think we finally have hit Mohammed's question. Welcome, Mohammed. Pour some coffee. Let me put that up on the screen. And we are going to have more time for questions. So if people want to send in some more questions, I do have time. Alrighty, Brandon. Okay, Brandon, we're going to put your question on the end. We've got one more question after this one and then yours. So you will be third on the list as of now. All right. Mohammed says, When you feel unsure that you will get practical insights from observational research and task analysis for an existing product, will you do it anymore? Doesn't it sound like you're wasting your time? I think the question is, number one, why are you doing a lot of research on the existing product? Sometimes that might not be the best way to go. But I guess number two is, what's going on with your observational research that you're not getting good insights from it? It makes me wonder how you're doing it, because you should get monster insights from observational research. I mean, it's really possibly the best type of research you can possibly do. So I would want to know, what is going wrong here? Was it planned? Was it not planned right? Did we recruit wrong? Did we recruit the wrong people? Are we asking the wrong questions, or did we give them the wrong tasks for what we want to learn? I10 said, connected to Vazia's question, I did a competitor analysis based on usability heuristics. It ended up 60 slides. I've done those too. My manager liked it so much he wanted me to present it to head of sales, marketing, product, and the CEO. This turned into a question. Okay, hold on, I10. We'll put you at the end. You might end up being the last question today. All right, so we'll get to you after. I thought this was a quick thing about what I was talking about. So back to Mohammed. I'm worried that this research was not planned or executed correctly if you are not getting good insights from observational research. How are you observing people? What other tasks you're having them do? So if your research doesn't seem to be meeting your research goals, I probably would stop the research and I would replan it and start it again. So doesn't it sound like you're wasting your time? Yes, you're probably wasting your time and the client's or company's money. So I would say, if you feel like your research is not going in the right direction, stop it, but replan it. Take a look at your plan and try to figure out what is going wrong, because it sounds like something went wrong in the plan. And there's lots of places where UX research can go wrong. I mean, we've got the planning and the screening and the recruiting and the questions and the tasks and the follow-up questions and how you're analyzing it. So that's what I would say. I would say you can stop it, but you'd want to figure out some root causes here. Why was your research not producing practical insights? Because it absolutely should. That's why we're doing it. All right, now we've got Denise's question, and I feel like Denise drops by every few months and asks this question. So I'm sorry to hear that you're still in a tough spot, Denise. One out, wrong one, 4 out. Let's press that again. The Denise button, here we go. Denise says, how to answer developers who give design suggestions to designers. I sometimes can't keep my sanity, but design is something that everybody can have some idea about, so I can't run away from that. Yeah, it is very hard. And I think when people don't recognize what you do or how you do it, they think everybody's a designer and, hey, we were coming up with designs before you worked here, so we can do this too. And it's very, very hard to try to tell these people that that may not be the best way to go. So what I would probably try to do is probably start with a spirit of collaboration. And if they give you design suggestions, what I do when developers give me design suggestions, I say, thank you, I'll consider that. And then I do consider that, just in case they have a good idea, just in case their idea isn't great, but it makes me think of something better. So you have to keep your sanity any way you can, but I would say they can give you design suggestions. If they're forcing you to use their suggestions, that's another story. I'm okay to people giving me ideas, but I have the right to say, these ideas are good, let's use them. These ideas are not good, we're not going to use them. These ideas have some merit, we're going to adjust them. So I think you have to kind of work on keeping your power and autonomy here, so that even if people are giving you ideas, suggestions, hey, why didn't you try that? Hey, I think it would be better if we did it this way. You can just say, thanks, I'll consider that. And then consider that. Do it or don't do it. So I can't tell from your question if you're under pressure to use what the designers say, but when that has happened, I typically end up saying to the designers, it's fun that you like this and I like this, but ultimately we have to build what works best for the customer. And we'll know what works best for the customer when we take it to usability testing. So I don't want to make this my opinion versus your opinion. We really should be usability testing this. And sometimes I have usability tested 2 ideas. I make 2 prototypes. I come up with 2 ideas, and I usability test them. And usually they both have pluses and they both have minuses. And then, you can be a low ego action hero and use whatever was good about that person's idea and say, thanks to so-and-so on the engineering team, we got a good idea there. It doesn't have to be a disaster, but I know you're in a very engineering-led company, and I'm sure all day long you feel worn down by people who are trying to just do your job and think that they can do it as well as you can or better than you can or the like, and I'm sorry. But hopefully this gives you some help and ideas. But again, where I've had this happen to me, I just go, thanks, I'll consider that. And then I consider it. That's all you have to do. It's all I promised. All right. This question came from Brandon. We're up to Brandon. Let me roll back and put that up on the screen the old-fashioned way. Okay. Hello, Brandon. Hi, Debbie. Any advice for designers who in interviews need to talk around situations where the business continually blocked UX work from being done, which resulted in mostly negative outcomes? Yeah. I try to be somewhat honest about that, never naming names, and just try to be super general about it. Because you have to remember, however you treat this unfortunate and negative topic is going to leave an impression on the people you interview with. So if, for example, somebody says, tell me about something that went wrong at your previous job. And you might say, oh, wow, this is like an endless list of things that went wrong at the previous job. And you can say, I was so excited when I joined that company. I was really excited that they were bringing me in as a mid-level UX designer into such an interesting product or such a company with such a good reputation. Unfortunately, I found that for the team I happened to be on, there seemed to be a lot of times where UX wasn't fully appreciated. And I felt like sometimes we were rushing a little bit into just shipping things that should have taken more time to vet the ideas. And that's why I'm hoping that your company really takes more of an approach towards customer centricity. I'm hoping that there will be the opportunity here to really do what I do best and make sure that we are trying to deliver the best product for our customers so that they will be more loyal. Did you see what I did there? Now, if they end up saying like, oh, no, we like to rush through UX too. We just want you to sketch screens so engineering can build it. Then you're going out of the frying pan into the fryer. And you probably don't want this other job. But I think the best way you can talk about it is just to be very general and don't stay on it too long. And just say, gosh, this is a sandwich approach. You start out with something positive, you say something kind of negative, and you end with something that's either positive or takes the conversation in another direction. So again, you can say something like, oh, I was so excited to start this job and I was really hoping to build my career there. But unfortunately, we just found that in some cases, UX wasn't really being integrated into Agile as well as it should be and as well as I know it could be. And so I decided it just wasn't a match for me. So how do you address this in your case studies? Equally delicately, except in the case studies, I think you have to use a little bit of storytelling to say what you should have done. Because if you just give me the case study of the UX that didn't happen, it sounds like the after school special, the UX that never happened. Then I go, well, crap, this poor guy, he interviewed -1 people and he never tested his designs. And does he even know what he's doing? And the problem is that if you don't give me some storytelling, I don't know if you know what you're doing. So I would use the case studies to, again, go gently and lightly and say, unfortunately here, we did not make time or budget for proper user testing. But I know that proper user testing would have included giving 5 people from each persona or segment a series of tasks and, watching them through moderated or unmoderated research. Then I can go, All right, this guy was in a tough work situation and he couldn't do what he wanted to do, but he knows the right ways to do it. So let's talk to him. Remember, your portfolio is just speed dating. You just want people to look at it and go, I think he knows what he's doing. Let's talk to him. That's all it has to do. So I think the storytelling in the case study or portfolio does have to say what you think should have happened so that someone like me can read it and go, all right, it sounds like he knows what the process should have been, and he was just in a situation where he couldn't do that. That's a lot of my portfolio, unfortunately. I've worked at many companies that blocked UX research and testing at pretty much every point. I would get 2 days to wireframe something. Then, now what do I put in my portfolio? It's tough. It's tough. Oh, we've got a quick question from Remus, which I will put up. Thank you, Remus. Says, hi, Debbie. Thanks for what you're doing. Do you offer coaching services? Thank you. Yes, I do. You can find links to all these things, including coaching on deltacx.com/links. All the links related to the show and the most common questions I get here on the show, I've put on the links page. For coaching, I give everybody 15 minutes free so we can get to know each other and you can see if you would ever want to talk to me again, because it's like speed dating. And then if you do want coaching from me, I do charge for it. I charge currently $50 American for a half hour. You can book a half hour, an hour and a half, up to you, and you can book it as needed. The paid coaching can happen weekdays or weekends. I open up my weekends for my coaching clients, and the free one is probably just weekdays. So try that. Oh, Itan's very sweet. Itan said, I recommend it. Thank you. Well, actually, there's a few people in the chat room today who have had my coaching and hopefully would have some nice things to say about it, but if that's optional. Oh, I forgot to. There we go. There's what Itan said. Thank you. Very not sponsored. I didn't pay her. All right, so we're finally coming back around to Itan's question. Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Good luck. And please come back and tell us how it went, or join the Slack channel. There's also a link from the links page to join our Slack workspace. It is completely free. We are not doing the paid membership thing here in the Delta CX world. So, spammy emails, etc. Okay. Who's crying? Yes, I paid Debbie. She didn't pay me. Exactly. That's kind of how this works. And thank you for paying me. Okay. So Itan had a question. Let's roll it back. And it's kind of a two-parter here. Connected to Vazia's question, I did a competitor analysis based on usability heuristics. It ended up 60 slides. My manager liked it so much, he wants me to present it to others. Others involve head of sales, marketing, product, and CEO. How do I present it in a way that makes sense for everyone? Remember, you're talking about your competitors. So if you can get a little bit of each of these things into it, what does our competitors' sales strategies look like? Can you tell? Maybe you can't, but maybe you can tell what their sales strategies or business model are. That's obviously not a heuristic, that's business model, but maybe if you have anything that you found that was a failed heuristic that has to do with the business model or how their pricing is presented or how their value proposition is presented, that could be cool. Marketing, heads of marketing. Marketing always love to hear about communications. So did you find anything in your heuristic analysis that made it seem like the content was not written for the audience correctly? It was written over their heads. It was written for engineers when normal everyday people are going to be buying this. Anything that looks like good or bad marketing, shitty stock photos, and the irrelevant stock photos, two people shaking hands. Can I never see that again, please? So anything that is marketing, that's why when I do these analyses, I don't just do heuristics. I typically look at all these things. I look at accessibility. I look at value proposition. I look at some of the content. I look at information architecture and navigation. And and then of course you'll have lots of stuff, I assume, about the product and how it's presented. So it's not that I think that you need to change this to present it. If the manager loved it and wants you to present it to others, it might just be ready to go. You might not need to change anything. Brandon says, my favorite stock photo, woman laughing while eating salad. Oh, thanks for subscribing, Brandon. Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but there's a lot of ones that I see that are so awfully sexist. Some for stock photos. Sometimes I'll put in something like angry manager, and it's like always a man yelling at a woman, and I'm always like, really? There's no woman managers who've ever been angry? It's just women being yelled at? Ooh. I've had lots of cringy moments in stock photos, and I know y'all have too. So I would say don't assume there's anything wrong with your presentation. You can personalize it for your audience. But again, if the manager loved it and wants you to present it, maybe go back to your manager. Do you think this thing's ready to go? Or is there anything you think I should change to show it to these heads or CEO or whoever? And I would let your manager guide you, because you're new to the company. You've been there like a whole 6 weeks. And so it's okay to ask that person for guidance and say, do you think there's anything I need to change about this presentation? Or would you have me do it just as it is? Or, do we need to pick 30 slides because they're not going to want to hear all 60? So I would get some guidance from your manager. All right, we've got a few minutes left and no more questions. So I am going to say yes to my next meeting. And I'm going to let you know what's coming up in the Delta CX verse. And that is tomorrow is Wednesday, November 10th. We've got our monthly Slack networking, which you will find if you join Slack. There is a channel called Live Events, and I will place the link there. And we just do a little video networking. It's totally free, and it's just to meet each other, and we don't have to talk about UX. We just don't. Let's see. Thursday the 11th, I'm not broadcasting. I'm speaking at UXPA Cleveland. So check that out for World Usability Day if you're curious. Friday the 12th, I have to double check with our favorite guys, Darren and Dr. Nick, but we have rescheduled them from today to then. Friday the 12th will be Darren and Dr. Nick. Office hours, ask us anything. Ralitza says, since you're speaking to heads of specific departments, I would aim for top 3 things per relevant area. They won't want too much detail. Yep, check mark. That sounds like rain outside. Am I about to lose my power again? What else do we got? Next week, okay, a lot of stuff was canceled for next week because I'm taking another course at night. So Monday the 15th will be another hashtag UX Think Out Loud challenge. I will be picking up where we left off from yesterday. So go to the Think Out Loud playlist if you'd like to see what I'm doing. And I'm doing real or realistic work and thinking out loud so you can see how I do it. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get into some interaction design and prototyping, and we'll continue. I'm sorry, not tomorrow. Monday the 15th we'll get into some interaction design. Tuesday the 16th will be only early office hours, just one at 10 in the morning Italy time. And Friday the 19th will be a weird timed reaction stream for ITON. It's going to be at 4:30 p.m. Italy time, Friday the 19th. Monday, what is this? No, I don't want to go to that. Say no. Monday the 22nd, I'm going to do a show on the frequently asked questions I get all the time about people who want to be UX freelancers and contractors. So we're going to talk about that. Tuesday the 23rd will be Office Hours Ask Me Anything at its usual time, 6:30 p.m. And Wednesday, November 24th, I start my vacation. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do any broadcasting from the vacation. Those streams might be canceled, but I promise to keep everybody posted in the Slack channel, Live Events channel. ITON says, Debbie, I haven't heard about that behavioral economics course for a while. How's it going? I'm not taking it. I'm too busy. So I can't tell you. I stopped in the middle and I ran out of time, and I don't know when I'll have time again, but you're right. I do want to continue it, and I do plan to continue it. So womp womp, sad trombone. And it looks like my meeting after my next meeting was canceled, which makes me very sad because I've been looking forward to it for a week. All right, so we've got a few minutes left. I might have time for one question, or does anybody have a comment? But otherwise, that is mostly it for office hours. And it sounds like rain outside. Yeah, that's rain. And I didn't plug everything into the UPS. Yikes. I'm going to go do that because I got an important call coming up and I can't have all my stuff shutting off. But thanks to all of you. Great to see all of you back. Good luck to everybody who's interviewing. Sounds like Glenn and Brandon are interviewing right now. Some of you just recently got jobs. Congratulations if you're announcing this. Oh, Remus says, how's living in Europe so far? Well, I've been here almost 4 years. I like it a lot. Oops, wrong button. I like it a lot, and I recommend it. And I'm in a beautiful place with a beautiful person, my boyfriend, who some of you have seen, and he will be back. He's going to be doing 2 shows with us in December. One show, he's going to be showing you how to build your portfolio online in WordPress using Gutenberg Editor and I think GeneratePress. But how to build in the free version of WordPress at your own domain name. So like you.com. He'll be teaching you all that. And he'll also be doing a special comedy show with me, Ask Deb's Boyfriend Anything, which we do every 1,000 subscribers. And I'm about to hit 3,000 subscribers. None of them were paid for, so I'm very proud. And so you will see the boyfriend a bit in December. And once in a while, he's on the Slack channel. But living in Europe is neato, and I like it. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go try to plug everything into my UPS in case my power goes out during my next call. So, y'all, stay safe, stay healthy. I know some of you aren't healthy right now. I'm worried about you. I'm probably going to ask you how you are every day. But please be well and be careful. Stuff's still wacky out there, and it's just not safe yet. So I'm going to play us out of here, but I really hope to see people at the video networking tomorrow and at the office hours on Friday. So bye-bye and see y'all soon. Thanks. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are